Greetings, Exile. You guys know me as the guy who makes off-meta trash builds that nobody wants to play. Usually bleed, physical, or even stupid stun builds. But this league, I challenged myself to make my first ever elemental build, and I pushed it to its limit. So now, witness the true potential of the Holy Sweep. Holy Sweep is a pretty straightforward skill. We spin a big stick in a circle to deal damage. This big stick can either be a mace or even a staff, and any enemies within the radius of sweep are struck with holy hammers, which deal 35% less damage and have a maximum limit of 8 targets. However, a single target is always struck by a holy hammer. Inherently, 50% of Holy Sweep's damage is already converted to lightning. So for this build, we convert the remaining 50% to lightning as well, by using Watcher's Eye with Wrath and by allocating lightning mastery for physical to lightning. This turns all of our damage into lightning, allowing us to focus on scaling lightning damage instead of other damage types, which lets us inflict powerful shocks and take advantage of perfect spirit of fortune. This specific spectre makes our lightning damage lucky. And if you understand how lightning damage scales between its maximum and minimum values, the difference is quite huge compared to other damage types. So lucky damage is a massive boost for any lightning build, and even allows to utilize volatility support by completely negating its downside. Now that 100% of damage is converted to lightning and all of it is lucky, we improve the build further by heavily scaling area of effect for screen wide clear. You see, both sweep and holy hammers that fall from its impact have their own area of effect. So I've stacked up a lot of AoE for all these sources, which allows me to cover the entire screen in a single swing. But what's the point of such huge AoE if the damage we are dealing is quint DPS? So to avoid that humiliation, I've made sure that we have 100% critical strike chance and over 600% critical strike multiplier. On top of this, I've also added sources of triple damage to push our damage even further. Triple damage, as the name implies, deals triple damage and scales perfectly with critical strikes, but it always overrides double damage. So don't even think that by stacking both, you will be dealing 5 times the damage. Now, there are very limited sources of triple damage in PoE. And the best way to scale it is through brutal charges, which comes from our Anguish unique belt. This belt converts all of our endurance charges into brutal charges, each providing 3% chance to deal triple damage. However, endurance charges on their own provide strong offensive and defensive benefits, which we definitely don't want to lose. So, we use the Relax Impatient boots for endurance charges, which allows us to retain the benefits of having our maximum endurance charges at all times. In this build, I have stacked up to 14 endurance charges, which roughly translates to 42% chance to deal triple damage. Combine this with Foul Bond Juggernaut White's Gloves, boosted by Runecraft of the Bound, and we reach a total of 60% chance to deal triple damage, along with around 70% damage reduction against both physical and elemental hits. Now the main problem is that Juggernaut White's Gloves have a huge strength requirement, and the rest of our setup also requires a lot of intelligence, which as you can clearly see, we don't have. So to deal with this problem, we use Elegant Hubris Unique Jewel, which grants Supreme Ostentation Keystone. This keystone removes all attribute requirements and allows us to use slots like Eternal Dominance, which provide increased damage per endurance charge. Overall, this is how we stack all of our endurance charges. We get 3 by default, 3 from the skill tree, 2 from our weapon, 1 from unflinching, 1 from boots, 1 from belt, 2 from rings, and the last one by allocating Unseen Hand from King of the Mist to equip another ring. And to allocate this Unseen Hand, we take Toad's Price and sacrifice our utility flask. This means we cannot even use Quicksilver Flask for movement speed, which makes us slow as fuck. So to deal with this movement penalty, I have added multiple sources of movement speed. I get 10% from Unstoppable, 14% from Picker's Emblem, 12% from the Corruption on the belt, and 20% from Onslaught through Lead by Example. Let's start with the equipment, but before I tell you about it, keep in mind that the gear I'm about to show you is quite min-maxed. You do not need the exact same gear, so just focus on the modifiers that I'm going to point out. First is our weapon, which is a Shaper influenced Eventuality Rod. This base provides us with maximum endurance and power charges as implicit. And as the base is Shaper influenced, we can even roll maximum endurance charge as a suffix on the staff itself. You should look for one with +1 maximum endurance charge, at least 22% attack speed, and around 30% critical strike chance in suffixes. In prefixes, look for 120% increased physical damage, at least tier 3 flat lightning damage, and most importantly, an open prefix to craft hits cannot be evaded. Having an open prefix is extremely important as it completely solves our accuracy problems. Now, let me be honest with you. This is an off-meta trash build, so I highly doubt anyone will have a weapon like this listed on trade. So the best way to get it is to craft it yourself. And to help with that, I've already written all the crafting steps in the Mobilityx guide. Next is the body armor, a royal plate with fractured essence modifier that provides reduced critical damage taken per endurance charge. Look for one with as much armor as possible in the prefixes, and the suffixes aim for at least 6% physical damage reduction and some chaos resist. For implicits, use Eldritch Currency to roll critical strike multiplier and Wrath aura effect. Once you have the fractured mod, crafting this armor is quite straightforward, so I would recommend crafting this yourself. For the helmet, I'm using Giant Slayer as base. Look for one with any distances you need, high maximum life, and an open prefix to craft increased debuff effect. For implicits, roll increased debuff effect and mana reservation efficiency. For gloves, use Foulborn Magnaut Vice gloves with at least 15% chance to deal triple damage. These are very cheap, and you can even look for a corrupted one with maximum life or any other useful bonus, such as base critical strike chance or even attack speed. For the belt, use Arn's Anguish with movement speed corruption in implicit. This movement speed buff works for the entire duration of your enduring mana flask. For boots, use Ralakish Impatience with +1 to maximum endurance charge as corrupted implicit. These can be very expensive, but there is no real alternative as they are the best in slot. You can still try corrupting them yourself if you want to gamble. For rings, I'm using a rare central ring with maximum endurance charge as implicit. These can be quite expensive, so a cheaper option is to use a Circle of Regret Topaz ring with maximum endurance charge in implicit, and then use a Granada's Touch to mirror one of them. For the third ring slot, I'm using a Precursor's Emblem. The main modifiers to look for are +1 to maximum endurance charge and movement speed per endurance charge. If you cannot find one like this, just use another Circle of Regret with maximum endurance charge in implicit. Lastly, for the amulet, I'm using Double Anointed Rare Amulet. These are extremely rare, since they only drop in Blight Ravage maps, so it is unlikely you will find one. The next best option is Triangle Gasp, which allows multiple anoints. You can anoint High Voltage, Titanic Impacts, alongside Unyielding and Vigor on the amulet. Alternatively, if you don't want to use Triangle Gasp, you can just use a good rare amulet with a single anoint for Vigor. Now, let's take a look at our gems. For our main damage setup, we have Holy Sweep linked to greater multi-strike, volatility, pulverize, increased critical strikes, and increased critical damage support. Holy Sweep is also imbued with endurance charge and melee stun. It's the best level 1 option for this build. If you cannot get that, you can use pulverize, increased critical strikes, or even critical damage support. Just make sure to eventually replace it with endurance charge and melee stun, as it's the best in slot. For our utility setup, we have Molten Shell linked to cast when damage taken, increased duration, and life tap support, with Enduring Cry linked to second wing, increased duration, and life tap support. For our movement speed setup, we have Leap Slam linked to faster attack and life tap support. And for our curse, we use Conductivity linked to life tap support. For our aura setup, we have Purity of Elements, Wrath, Herald of Thunder, and Blood and Sand. Lastly, for a minion setup, we use Ray Spectre linked to minion life, meat shield, and companionship support. Companionship support is very important if you want your specters to survive the uber boss fights. For this build, we are using two 8 passive large cluster jewels. One is for Mace and Staff, and one is for lightning damage. In the Mace and Staff cluster, we have Overlord and Fuel the Fight as main nodes. And in the Lightning cluster jewel, we have Prismatic Heart and Overshock as the main node. In these last clusters, we have also socketed 4 medium cluster jewels. Out of these, 3 are for area of effect clusters and 1 is a unique Megalomaniac cluster. On the medium clusters, we have Titanic Swings and Towering Threat as the main nodes. Meanwhile, the expensive Might node is only 1, as it has a maximum limit of how much area of effect it can give. On the Megalomaniac jewel, we have Electric Presence, Heraldry, and Lead by Example. The most important nodes here are Heraldry and Electric Presence. Meanwhile, Lead by Example is just a nice bonus, but if you cannot find a Megalomaniac with all 3, you can simply use the Exert cluster instead of one of the AoE ones. We are also using the Flesh and Flame combo to allocate Unyielding, which saves us 2 Ascendancy points. We have also socketed a Light of Meaning jewel for lightning damage near endurance for a solid damage boost. For Watcher's Eye, we are using one that converts physical damage into lightning, and also provides lightning penetration while affected by Wrath. If you're lacking Chaos Resistance, you can instead use the Watcher's Eye that provides Chaos Resistance while affected by Purity of Element, alongside physical to lightning conversion. Lastly, we have socketed an Elegant Hubris Legion jewel near Eternal Youth. This converts Eternal Youth into Supreme Ostentation. And with these particular numbers, it also transforms nodes like Ancestral Knowledge and Expertise into Eternal Dominance, giving us increased physical damage per endurance charge, which saves us a lot of skill points. Now, there are 2 masteries I think I should highlight. The first one comes from Runegraft of the Bound, which boosts our chance to deal triple damage from our gloves to 18% from 15%. Second is the Warcry mastery for minimum power, which allows us to maintain our brutal charges even when out of combat. And this also lets us heal ourselves and our Spectre with Enduring Cry. Now, I cannot cover every single detail in one video, as I don't want to make an hour-long video that nobody wants to watch. So, I always make sure to have a well-written mobilitics guide from start to finish to help you get started. Do check it out, as it is much more detailed. The league is not over just yet. I still have 3 more builds planned. I've already started working on the next one, and you can expect another off-meta trash build very soon. If you like these type of off-meta trash builds, make sure to complete all the formalities by liking, subscribing, and even dropping a hammer on the notification bell. As always, thanks for watching Exile.